Hey guys, Nick from ArchCityPLO.com and Arch City Poker. This week's video, we're going to continue with part two of the two-part series, how to play your draws in poker. So part one talked about when to be aggressive. Generally, if you feel like it's a board texture that doesn't hit your opponent's range that hard, you will want to be more aggressive in general. You'll want to be more aggressive with gutters. You guys aren't aggressive enough with your gutters. And then your nuttier draws that are pushing solid equity even if called. But this week is about when to slow down, maybe who to slow down against, why we would ever consider playing our draws a little slower. So let's start with showdown value. This concept, let's say that you have second pair on a flop, but you also flop a flush draw. I think a lot of players have this misconception that they have a pair and a flush draw. They're supposed to always be aggressive with that. But if you have pretty good showdown value, you don't have the greatest pair. Yes, you're pushing a little more equity to where you could possibly sometimes value bet it, especially against fish, against calling stations who can call with a very wide range of hands. Then you probably would want to fit that combo into your value betting range. But let's say it's a more reasonable opponent. You need a little bit of balance. If you bet all of your draws against a player like me, I'm going to know that when you check and straights or flushes come in on the turn or river, then I'm going to know you never have it. And I'm going to be able to pretty much play my entire range very aggressively and get you to fold a lot of yours. If you're on the other side of it, where you're always checking with your draws and you're playing too passively, then I know when you check, or I know when you bet and those draws come in, then I can again bluff you off of your range. You see how easy it is for anybody that's not even like an elite player, anybody competent that can hand read in poker, they're going to be able to figure that out. So you're going to want to implement some kind of balance if you do think you have a good player. And so going back to showdown value, if you have like a second pair or third pair type of hand with like a middling flush draw, check more of those. It's going to add a little balance to your game. It's not going to make you as predictable, and you won't be overplaying so many of those hands that are in the middle of your range. Now, the second part of this is probably the most important for a lot of you guys. If you feel like your opponent's range hits a flop texture really hard, then you probably shouldn't be that aggressive with your draws. You'll probably want to play them a little bit slower, even if you have like a nut flush draw, nut open-ender. If it's a board that your opponent raised pre-flop or they 3-bet pre-flop, it's a lot of times those heavier textures, guys, like king, queen, 5, ace, XX. You're going to want to probably play your draws a little bit slower on those boards. So really, just in general, if you feel like you lack fold equity and or you have some kind of showdown value and maybe you need balance against a better player, that's when you would want to slow down with your draws, okay? But otherwise, if you have an opponent that you don't need to really balance against, you believe you have fold equity, that's mainly going to happen when you believe that your opponent doesn't really hit a flop texture that well, then you're going to want to err on the side of aggression because that's going to pay off in the low to mid stakes games where players, I think, are afraid, quite frankly, in the big bet games to play for stacks. You're going to want to implement aggression when necessary, or I guess when necessary works. But again, part two here is about when to slow down. And as I alluded to, there are some good spots for that. So quicker video. Obviously these videos are a little bit more general for you guys. And I've had a few requests the last couple weeks about giving like more hand examples or maybe even like visuals and stuff. Guys, I'm going to be quite frank about this. I'm very happy to provide a free weekly video for the community. I've always been a big believer that I want to give back. I want to give you guys, knowledge that will help you have more fun and play better. Sorry if you hear my cat going crazy back there, but a lot of my time goes to my one-on-one students, my training site, the guys that are paid members that are paying for that in-depth kind of analysis. So it's not that I don't hear your requests or I don't care about you guys, but this is going to be secondary to the site and to the one-on-one students. So come visit the site and I will be able to provide you with that kind of analysis. So see you guys next week. And as always, thanks for watching.